for joining us and being here today. As many of you know, earlier this year, we passed the America Rescue Plan, and the president was able to sign this historic package into law. The American Rescue Plan will not only cut child poverty into half, but it would also help fund states and municipalities so that they are able to address the extreme crises that have occurred because of this pandemic. Our community, as many of you know, needs these resources desperately. These funds, we believe, should be distributed as quickly as possible because the hurt that our communities are feeling is exponential. Our state has some of the highest racial inequalities in this country. Black people in Minnesota are 10 times more likely to end up in jail or prison than white people. The median income for Black households is just $30,000, while the white household income is more than double that number at over $66,000. In North Minneapolis, which is where we are right now, nearly half of all renters have experienced eviction in the last 3 years. We are expecting another wave when the current moratorium ends. Minnesotans made nearly 4 million visits to food shelves in 2020, the highest number ever recorded. The pandemic has supercharged the inequalities and the instabilities that we have lived with for over decades. While stock prices have risen and wealth accumulated in the hands of few people, businesses have been shattered. People have been without work, and what little work they could find is paying less and less. We passed a bill designed to address these structural inequalities in our district. As a representative for Minnesota's 5th congressional district, I am committed to making sure those funds end up helping those who are the most vulnerable among us get back on their feet and find a footing in this economy. That is why I am excited and have been pushing our mayor, the city of Minneapolis mayor, and our governor to start a pilot program for a universal basic income, just the way in which the mayor of St. Paul has done. We believe these funds, the American Rescue Plan funds, should be used to meet our constituents' needs. We think they should be used in addressing housing instability and tackle the eviction crisis. They should also be used to help people find jobs, to make sure small businesses have the resources that they need, and to make sure our local communities that have faced trauma get the health care and trauma-informed program support that they need. We also believe it should be used to create safe spaces for our kids and for the school resources to be used to provide additional staff and supportive programs for kids who have been struggling during this pandemic. And I plan to use my position as a member of Congress to make sure these funds end up in the hands of the people that need them the most. I've been working diligently in communicating with the city of Minneapolis, in communicating with our governor, in communicating with Hennepin County in regards to these resources, and also talking to the other 14 municipalities that are included in Minnesota's 5th congressional district. I recently talked to one of those municipalities, Edina, and it was amazing to learn that the resources that they are getting, they have decided to do a community engagement project to hear from individuals in the community on how those resources should be dispersed. And so I do hope that Mayor Jacob Fry and Governor Wolf take the leadership example from the leadership of the city of Edina and start a community engagement process where they are asking residents of the city of Minneapolis how the resources that we have gotten should be utilized in addressing some of the most devastating inequalities that exist in our country. And I just want to give you all an example, a readout of just the amount of dollars that are coming into our state and city. The state of Minnesota is getting $2.5 billion. Of that $500 million, the governor now has unilateral authority over those state funds. The city of Minneapolis is getting $281.5 million. Hennepin County is getting $240 million. Minneapolis Public Schools is getting $180 million. What we are looking for as a community and what I've been pushing for as the representative of this community is an understanding of how those resources are going to be directed to places like North Minneapolis that desperately needs those resources. And I'm going to pause and give the local representatives of North Minneapolis and some of the community members who have joined us to speak to these devastating needs and the ways in which they think these resources should be allocated from the mayor's office and from the governor's office.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Esther Agbaje, and I am the state representative for House District 59B, which covers the area that we are in today. So I want to say thank you so much to Representative Omar for bringing all of us together to talk about the important need of investing in our communities, particularly in communities like the North Side that have had a history of continued disinvestment over the years. So these funds should be used to reinvest in our community after the disaster of the pandemic. The pandemic still isn't over, which is why it is crucial that we are asking our leaders to have control over certain amounts of these funds to use that investment in the people of districts like this one. One of the things that we really need to ensure that we're focusing this money on is on small business. A lot of small businesses were hurt very hard during the pandemic, and many of them were actually considered micro businesses, so they have less than 5 employees, and they don't always have access to the traditional types of funding. So one major request is to make sure that small businesses, micro businesses, have that opportunity to rebuild after the pandemic. Another priority area is affordable housing and just maintaining housing in general. One of the things about housing is that it is an actual stability factor for so many families across the state of Minnesota, and particularly here on the North Side. We want those dollars to be invested in continuing to support rental and mortgage assistance. People have been hurt in this time period. They have not been able to keep up with rent, not been able to keep up with their mortgages. And if we want to ensure that they stay in their homes to weather this crisis, we need funding, a significant amount of funding to go there. Third, we also need to make sure that we are investing in our environmental health. The North Side, as you'll hear from some of our community members, is an area that has been industrially zoned, and there's a lot of organizations, businesses who are spewing toxic chemicals into the air, makes our air quality low, our water quality low, our soil quality low, and those are the types of things that can make it difficult for people to get healthy and access to nutritious food, which then leads to difficulties in their health situation. So we need to make sure that we're using funding to support environmental and climate justice to make sure that people are living in healthy spaces. And finally, we have to support our kids. Our kids are our future. And if we're not using this funding to ensure that they have the resources, the tools that they need to succeed in school, that their teachers have those resources, that our school districts have those resources, we're continuing the perpetual cycle that we've seen over the years. So I am calling, and I am committed as a member of the Minnesota State Legislature to make sure that we are using this funding in the correct way. And for those that right now have sole authority over the funding, that they're using it in a way that is continuing to support the needs of people, that is continuing to put people first, to make sure that they are our lifeblood and that they are thriving to build back a strong North Minneapolis and a strong Minnesota. Thank you.
Yes, I absolutely want to thank our Congresswoman for having me out here today and for being here in North Minneapolis to talk about the American Rescue Plan. At the City of Minneapolis, we're going to be seeing the City of Minneapolis get $270 million coming into our city. And I think that it should be up to all of us to determine who needs help the most in Minneapolis in a post-COVID world. I think that if we vet this question, we're going to find that people who need help the most in Minneapolis post-COVID are the people who needed help the most pre-COVID. Communities of color, the North Side, immigrant communities, these are the communities that need the most help here in our city. To that end, we need to have everybody's input. It shouldn't just be up to a handful of people. It shouldn't just be up to the council. It shouldn't just be up to the mayor. I think we truly need to invest in a participatory process to make sure that we are getting this money where it needs to go. I represent the North Side, and in the North Side in particular, we have a lot of things that we deserve. We deserve to live in a safe community. We deserve to have spaces for our kids to congregate and to play and express themselves, kind of like this area that you're in right now. We deserve to have clean air and clean soil, and we deserve to have people stabilized in their housing, healthy homes, and we deserve to have our businesses also stabilized on the corridor and invested in on the corridor. I think that as we go through the next couple of months and decide where this money is going to be allocated, I think that the North Side, in particular, needs to be front and center. You're standing in the youngest ward in the entire city. We have a lot of young people here, and if you support North Minneapolis in addressing the challenges that we face, we're going to see ourselves having an entirely healthy city, a much more healthy city. So I'm here to advocate for that, and I'm super proud of the work that Juxta's done, super proud of the work that Esther Agbache's done, and just, again, thankful for Congresswoman Omar providing this platform for us to talk about the needs that we have in our city. Thank you.
My name is Kimberly Caprini, and I am a Minneapolis director. I live here. I'm glad to come here today and certainly support of $8. We have serious problems with the loss of experience and opportunity, specifically for our 8 to 18-year-olds. And it's really important to me that we really narrow our focus on what those experiences and opportunities that they are not receiving. Many of our schools are very underfunded. Public education is underfunded. We have an incredible opportunity right now in 2021 to offer our students, our community, our children, the city of Minneapolis, speaking specifically of Ward 4 and Ward 5 children, the opportunity to have something to do before school and after school, and really dig deep and make sure that we are including the importance of their families with events and opportunities to just be present and enjoy all of the absolute great facets of North Minneapolis. So thank you, Congressman. I appreciate being able to be here today. Thank you all.
Hi, my name is Roxanne O'Brien. I work at Juxtaposition Arts. I'm also a community organizer and environmental justice activist. I work with young people here at Juxtaposition Arts. I'm also someone who's around the neighborhood just doing day-to-day neighborly things, making sure that neighbors are looking after one another. We have a lot of stuff going on out here, but the best thing about this money coming in is this is an opportunity to invest back into a community that's been divested in for quite a long time, a few generations. This is an immigrant community, a Black community. This is a community where a lot of us have kind of been put in red lines into a community, and again, have just been missing the investments. So this is a great time to work on the inequities around. This is a great time to put more money and dollars into spaces that we have out here where there's nothing for families and children to do out here. So this will be a great opportunity, and I look forward to seeing leadership out here talking with the community and actually asking us what we need. Don't just decide for yourself, because although you've been elected, the people have the solutions here. So let's make sure that we bring along the community members. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabrielle Greer. I'm the director here at Juxtaposition Arts. And I think, like our Congress folks have been mentioning, the most important thing for us at Juxtaposition is to, one, honor the neighborhood and the space, And I think the best way to do that is by having conversations with our community, like Roxanne mentioned, but also understanding that young people have a voice too, and they deserve to be honored. And a part of that honoring is making sure that they have safe places to live, safe places to understand how to be creative and contribute to their community, but most importantly, have a place where that's safe for them. And so that's our honor here at Juxta to do for our young people. We want to do that alongside of our Congress folks. We want to be able to do that and see that as a way to extend to community and in partnership with them. So as we think about the best way to use these dollars, we're also thinking about the importance of our young people and the importance of not only activating them, but also their families. So on behalf of us here in this ward, we hope that our Congress folks understand that and are willing to come with us at the table to have that conversation. Thank you.
My name is Roger Cummings. I am one of the founders here at Arts, and out of 16 different arts organizations in the state of Minnesota, only 3 are Black-owned that have budgets over $1 million, and only one of those owns their own buildings. And so it's important for things like this to be able to cement legacy in the community, so young people have a place to earn, be safe, and start their careers and thrive. And so we are really grateful and hopeful that this money will come to help secure that and cement that here.
Thank you all. I think I just can't overstate how important it is for us to continue to have these conversations with community members, with local representatives in the most, financially devastated and disinvested neighborhoods, so that we can tailor the programs that will eventually be funded with these resources into the needs of what the community is expressing. And so with that, we can take 1 or 2 questions.
Yeah, how do you balance the desire to have community input with the need to get out dollars quickly when there's a lot of out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can do both, and you can do that simultaneously. I think it is really important for us to know that there are already necessary programs that we think should be funded, and so we can start with those programs. Obviously, as we've talked about, there is an eviction crisis in Minneapolis, especially in North Minneapolis. We know that there is a gainful employment crisis. There is a crisis within our small businesses. We know that there's a crisis in finding resources for our kids, whether it is for places for them to play or summer jobs and gainful employment. So we can start with that and then continue to have the conversations on the other things that are needed in order for a centering of this community to happen. Yes.
The only thing that I would add to that is that, I know that at least at the city level, this money is going to be proposed in phases. And so it's not going to be the whole, $270 million all at once. And so I think that we can, there might be needs that can't really wait, that we have to get the money out the door for. But since we're already proposing to put this money out in phases, I think that we can determine those areas of need that do require a ton of community input before those dollars hit the, hit the doors.
How do you make sure the money stays up in the area of need? How do you make sure that the money stays up in the area of need?
Well, I think you do that by doing community engagement, right? There are, when I think of some of those things that, we don't necessarily have to have a lot of questions around in the city, for example, we know that city employees, for instance, were hit really hard. A lot of folks were asked to take on, take furlough and that kind of thing. We also know that within the city of Minneapolis, that affected primarily women and people of color the hardest. And so we can sort of address that need right away. But when you're talking about putting that money out to the community, that is where you're going to need that community input, or else I think you risk losing sight of things a little bit.
Well, you guys talked about programs before and after school. Would that help with the gun violence that's currently going on in the city?
all the time, but I believe that it would absolutely. There's a need to address immediate violence, right? And we're taking that up right now. But if you don't address the upstream causes of violence, then you're always going to find yourselves in a situation where the violence is fed, no matter how much you do the direct impact. So I think that as important as it is that we address it now, it's also important that we make those upstream investments.
Congresswoman, can we get your thoughts on the current?
I really think that there are obviously correlations between high violence areas in regards to youth and unemployment rates and school dropout rates. And so the fact that we are not investing in programs that will support kids and their families to be able to stay in school and have the support that they need, for moms and dads to have the ability to be gainfully employed and have the support that they need in regards to childcare. The fact that there are not enough workforce placement centers and staff has an impact on that. The fact that we don't have really heavily invested violence interrupter programs in North Minneapolis and South Minneapolis has an impact on that. So I think that there is obviously lots of research out there that can support and inform the programs that actually need our investment so that we can have the benefits of creating healthy and safe environments. We're just not listening and making the proper investment in our communities. And to me, I think a child's life and the trajectory of their life should not be determined by the zip code that they were born in a city, in a state, in a country where we do actually have resources. So I don't think it is fair that if you are living in North Minneapolis, we can already predict what life you are going to lead from birth, and it's going to be very different than the life that is predicted for somebody that lives in Southwest. And so I believe it is important for our mayor and our governor to be clear about that, and to not just say, Black Lives Matter, but to create the investments that Black lives need in order for them not to just survive, but to thrive.
Do you feel you got a gun problem in your district right now?
So, for those who know the history of North Minneapolis, this has always been a community where everybody comes from around the state to do their dirt. So we got a lot of people coming from outside our community to do all sorts of things. And before it became a Black community, it was a Jewish community. We also had violence problems then. Actually, America has a lot of violence problems. You can see by the way that it was founded. And so we really got to have a bigger conversation, a holistic conversation around why violence is happening, especially in communities that have been divested from. And we're not poor, we're just exploited. A lot of people come here and they make a lot of money off of our pain and our suffering, including the media. So we're going to have to do a better job of highlighting the beautiful things that we have going on, investing dollars into the things that are working, investing into children, young people, and families. We've got quite a lot of beautiful, powerful, intelligent people over north that have not been tapped into. So if our governments can actually come and do their part, invest in our people, invest in our communities. We've got a Jewish community here, we've got a Black community here, we've got Hmong people here, we've got Latino people here, Somali people here. This is a very diverse community full with wonderful people who are looking after each other. Neighbors are on every block right now trying to support each other through whatever we're going through. And there's not just violence happening within community. There's also state and policy violence that contributes to this. There's also high lead levels, so we don't even know how that has contributed to people and young people out here. And last but not least, there's actually pollution kills people twice as much as homicide. So a lot of people don't know that about our community, but we have an industry out here that we could be working on building up a green infrastructure for ourselves instead of just, contributing to more of the pollution problem. So I just wanted to answer that. Thank you.
Exceptionally stated, and I do think that we do have a gun problem in this country. We've obviously been working towards gun violence prevention for a really long time, and I've said it time and time again. When we talk about mass shootings, we're not just talking about the stuff that's happening in schools. We're not talking about the things that are happening in movie theaters and such. We are talking about gun violence overall being a pandemic and a public health crisis in our country, and that needs to be addressed.
What does that say about the status of that debate? What's your thoughts on the potential for that bill?
I'm clearly disappointed that we haven't been able to get that bill through in the Senate. As you know, we introduced and passed it last year within a month of his death, which we were proud of. I got the opportunity both times in the last Congress and this Congress to preside over the bill's passing. And so it's a bill that is personal to me. And I really think it is important for those who are negotiating with the Republican senators to continue to push for that conversation, and for our president to continue to use his relationships and leverage with the senators so that we are able to finally pass that and get transformative legislation enacted in our country in regards to these. Okay. With that, thank you all for joining us.